Okay, so I'm Mary. It's super nice to meet you, and super nice to do this interview. I am the author of Vagabond. It was released last year, and it garnered favorable reviews. It was featured at LA Weekly. It's really, I'm super proud of it, and it's basically, I started it as like a Twilight Harry Potter mash of a fan fiction. And then it ended up being this with angels and demons and all that. But I'm really proud of it because it shows like human nature between like the struggle between good and evil. And I also like the fact that the love story wasn't blurred out because of the whole plot, because that's what I didn't like about Twilight and Harry Potter. Like the love story was just like kind of put in the back corner. But in this one, it's like it's there, like that's the main focus, and everything else is just subplots. So that's what really like inspired me to write this book, because for me, like I haven't read any fantasy genre or any young adult fiction now that just solely focuses on the love story. It's more of like there's a battle, there's a mystery. So that's what I wanted to focus on, and I think the readers liked it.
Sounds great. So I guess we can get started on the questions. What inspired you to pursue writing?
I read a lot of books, so that's probably why. And like I said earlier, like I haven't found anything quite like this where it's to my niche, like 80% love story, 20% everything else. So I really wanted to focus on that. And I wanted to focus more on like a really strong lead wherein she doesn't start off as like a Mary Sue, very Bella, very, Katniss from Hunger Games, where she's all like, well, I don't know if I'm special enough. I still have to get there. No, she starts off real strong as the princess of hell. She's like, I am the girl, and you are all just like backup characters. So that's what I really wanted to tell in my story. And I think it's there. I mean, from the first page, you'll get to see how strong she is.
Yeah, I think you've touched on this a little bit, but what inspired you to pursue fantasy as a genre specifically?
So starting out, I didn't actually know that I was writing fantasy. It was more of like YA and with the love story and all that. But then I added all of the conspiracies and the artifacts and all this mystery. And I'm like, okay, now it's a fantasy genre. So it kind of evolved there, but it didn't start out that way for sure.
So, what was your purpose in writing Vagabond, and what do you hope readers take away from reading your work?
Yeah, I think I kind of said this like on my introduction that, it's the struggle between good and evil, but it's mostly just like accepting who you are. I feel like once you get through the mess of Vagabond from start chapter 1 to the end of chapter 20, like once you put the book down, I think that you can really see that it's a struggle. Like everyone struggles between their good and bad side, but at the end of the day, it's what you choose to do and it's the actions that you take that define who you are. So I hope that everyone who reads it and get past all the stuff and finally finishes the book, they'll realize that something in themselves to self-reflect on. So that's what I really want readers to think
Yeah,
about.
that makes sense. So, is Vagabond a standalone, or is it part of a series that you're building? And if it is part of a series, when can we expect the next installment?
You and everyone else is asking that, especially my mother. It's a series, so it's supposed to be a trilogy. I do have the second book already kind of like written. There's a first draft. I just have to like filter through all the nonsense and remove a few things. But right now, I'm really focused on my new book that just came out. It's called The Last Great American Tragedy. Changed my pseudonym to Mary Spencer. It's been doing really well as well, and it's just a straight up romance genre. So it's just a romance book. Think Nicholas Sparks. So really focused on that. But eventually, I will go to finishing the second book because everything is basically already written. So I'm thinking maybe mid this year to next, like spring next year, it'll be published and ready to read.
So, your new book, is it not fantasy genre then?
No, it's just a romance book for sure. And it's a standalone, it's no series. It's very, very detailed about like the human concept, and it's very philosophical. It's very inspired because I was reading and watching Hannibal at the time, and if you've watched it, I don't know if you have, it's very philosophical, and it's like, you know, how the brain works and how the mind works. So it touches on mental illness, and it touches on a lot of real world things. I wrote it during the pandemic, so I think that kind of inspired me to do it. But it's a love story though, so there's a lot of nuances, but it's very niche, and I think people in my age group really like it. So
That's really interesting. I mean, it'll show your versatility as an author. So,
from like YA to straight up just like depression, but
how do you balance your writing career with your personal life? And maybe do you have like a different type of career also?
I do, yes. So I'm actually in the legal field now. And so I don't know how that doesn't really relate to what I write at all. So maybe someday. But I tend to be a really fast writer. Like I wrote Vagabond in the span of 3 months, and then I wrote The Last Great American Tragedy in a month. And I was like, yeah, so I don't really have like a structure, like I have to write 5,000 words a day. No, it's not like that. It's more of like, am I inspired? Like, do the words just like, does it just come to me? Can I just write for 10 hours at a time and just like finish 10 chapters? So I don't really have a structure. I just need 2 bottles of wine at the most, and then I can get it done. So yeah, it's more of just like me being really inspired to write something.
So, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people wish they could do right so quickly. I think it takes people so long. So, what is your advice for aspiring writers hoping to write their own book?
Oh my God. I think the acknowledgement section, no, not the acknowledgement, the first few pages, the start of, I don't know what it's called, of Vagabond. If you flip to the third page, I think it's like, no, it's not acknowledgement. I don't know what it's called. The writer, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Um, it's one, like the third page says, for all the people who dare to dream, for all the readers who dare to dream, or something like that. So my advice is to just never give up. Honestly, I know it's very cliche, but I have been rejected so many times. And now Vagabond is like I said, it's been featured at LA Weekly. It's like, it's crazy how it all went down. But if you have a great idea and you like really believe in it, just fight for it, you know, like, and don't take no for an answer. And if someone tells you you have to change a few things, then do it if you want to. And if you really want to store it, then don't. But that would be that would be something that I would tell any aspiring author, is just, you will face a lot of rejection, but at the end of the day, you just have to believe in your work.
That's really good advice.
And alcohol helps a lot. So
So, that's all the questions that I had for you. But is there anything else that you want to add about being an author in general or your books?
well, it's been a ride, let me tell you that. It's crazy. And I wish it on every author to be published and be their own definition of successful, because success varies, subjective. And buy my new book, The Last Great American Tragedy. It's out Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and check out Vagabond. And I hope I can squeeze in the second one soon. Thank you so much for this interview. I loved it, and you're the best. Online bookstore, folks. Check it out.
Yeah, thank you for making space in your schedule. And for the people watching the interview later, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see the rest of you next week.